Real Dads, Black Men on Fatherhood. Theirs are stories of commitment, stories of responsibility, stories of love, passion, fears, and stories of encouragement.
We're always in the media as doing something that's not correct or whatever, but it's a whole lot of us that's doing the right thing.
Everybody thinks that we're just, fly by night. Even when we are involved, we're just fly by night. Here's $50 for a pair of sneakers and some Pampers, and that's it. There are a lot of us that are here through and through.
And I think it's important that, we come together to actually help each other out when it's necessary, so she can see that, hey, I see Daddy, I see another positive man, right there, right next to Daddy. So the more often we bring black males together like this, the more positive impression it's going to put on our children.
Fatherhood is one of the most selfless, endeavors a person can embark on. I am a father, a husband, and a writer, and a poet.
In that order.
There's an absoluteness in parenting and fatherhoodness, is that you are the responsible person, and that at the end of the day, that child is in your care. And there ain't no excuses. I had to go, my social life was suffering, so I left him unattended for 5 hours. You can't go out like that. Like, they take priority over everything.
Once I became a father, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that, when my wife comes running out of the bathroom with this little pen light and woke me up. And I'm like, it's positive, it's positive, it's positive. Becoming a father starts to evolve from that point, because it takes a little while to sink in. And then as things go farther and farther, you're going, oh wow, I'm gonna be a dad.
This is the best loving father you can ever have.
She just wants some genes. Being a father, it's joy and it's pain. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's all worth it when you look at your child and you say, wow, that's part of me.
It's my life. It's what I strive for. It's like a constant climb. It's a challenge for me. But the love for my children is the best love and the most important love to me.
Being a father, it's not something you apply to do. It's something that you have to do. That's what you are. You have to through whatever adversity you have to deal with. You have to make your presence known, and sometimes I know it's hard because sometimes there's situations where the two parents don't get along, or there's situations where they may be long distances apart.
Every child's needs are different. Every spouse or wife's needs are different. And one of the interesting things that I've learned over time is that you really get to define what being a father is for you. And to me, it began to evolve and really be, it's not about me. And focusing in on Logan and what she needed, to support your family unconditionally. And which is tough, to allow them to support you.
It means to guide and protect and cherish and provide and show him the right way. There's no handbook for this, so just be patient. There's no parent hand. You can read all of those magazines and it will not make you the perfect parent.
I remember, some friends like, you need to read this, that, and the other. And I was like, cool, because I'm not saying it comes to you like automatically, but in the way it does, what comes to you is your willingness, and you learn by being open.
When you learn to love somebody, you kind of take all the parts that come with it.
I worry about getting telephone calls in the night, worry about having, people knock on the door telling me something has happened. I've been a daddy for about 28 years and a granddaddy for a little over a year. Primarily, it's physical safety. That's my main concern about having 3 black sons.
I turn to look at my watch and he's gone. I blink, I go down to tie my shoe, and he takes off and gets hit by a car. Like those things they just get to me. I was scared to let him play with other kids the other day because he had a Pokemon watch on. And I was like, wow, some kid got stabbed for a Pokemon card. Imagine what they do for a watch, so.
I can remember it very clearly, sitting in the pediatrician's office, and she says, well, we have to run some tests and make sure she's okay and make sure there was no brain damage. And my wife and I just froze. And we're saying, what do you mean, brain damage? So from that point on, really things just were very, life became different. Logan has developmental delays, and she has a lot of struggles ahead of her. And, she and I have this little agreement that we made that neither one of us would give up. And, I'm always there to help her. Just keep trying, keep pushing.
Wow, one of the hardest things being a father, one of the greatest obstacles I've had to overcome is how I deal with disappointing my child in any way. It's heavy to try to constantly be what he holds you up to be, and be that Michael Jordan, of the home front.
The everyday, just keeping him out of trouble, keeping him away from drugs, not, just setting, planting that seed, as he was growing up, and just keeping him out of trouble. That was the biggest challenge because the streets are full of, craziness.
How do you do it? Like, sometimes I feel like I can't. Sometimes I feel like, I'm about to down this whole bottle of aspirin, drink this bottle of liquor. I mean, not like literally like I'm really gonna kill him, but sometimes it really feels like, this is just too hard. I can't do it. Like, I can't do it anymore. How do you do it? And not give up? How do you go through the ups, the downs, the gray hairs, the no hairs, the stress, everything? How do you do it? And not manage to purposely, but make it look accidentally, drive off the Brooklyn Bridge on the way to work.
With a lot of prayer and a lot of faith, and primarily, love. I keep coming back to love because love is action. That's really, again, one of the joys and one of the beauties of being a parent. It's the ultimate commitment. And, there isn't any such thing as, I quit. I'm out of here. The game is over. It's just not that way. Commitment and the willingness to be responsible for a family.
I have 3 daughters. When my 2 oldest daughters were little, I was young. I was like 19, 20. And it was more or less like, okay, I have a baby. I'm gonna be a man and take care of my responsibility. But I think a lot of times I was still playing. I was like playing dad, trying to play a parent, because I was still trying to have my fun and try to do my things that I wanted to do. And it was like they came second. I remember, I think it was in like 88, I left from where my kids were. They were living with their mother. I was living with them till my oldest daughter was like 6. And I just decided I was going to California. I wanted to be an actor. So I left them for like a year and a half. I was out there in California. When I came back, they were like bigger and they like really didn't know me that well. And that kind of like hurt me, because one thing my daughter told me when I first got back is she was like, "Daddy, why'd you leave us?" And it just made me feel bad, like, because I mean, it happens every day in society where if the man and the woman don't stay together, the kids always stay with the mom and the dads go on and they live their life. And it just made me feel bad, you know, to recognize that it's part of my responsibility too, not just taking care of them, but also being a part of their life, because kids will miss that. So I think it's important that I realize that they need me regardless of if I have $1 million to spend on them. It's just that they need me around the time.
Logan is our only child, and whatever we can possibly do for her, everything that can possibly be done, we're doing. And given the situation that she's in, I see my daughter going through, in her case, different medical tests and things like that, and she's looking up at me with those big eyes, and she's just looking at me saying, you know, "Daddy, help me. Just, you know, make it stop." That's tough. That's really hard to stand in there, both feet planted, and just keep going. Just keep going and just do what you can.
I was an artist, and I was living an artist life when Omari had moved in with me, and I assumed full custody. I didn't have daycare or childcare at all set up. My extended family network wasn't as in place. My friends did what they could, but I didn't really have a 9-to-5 situation, so I had to get assistance. I went down to the welfare office, you know, to go get my WIC checks, and you know, the papers that were there all were like, well, name absentee father. Name the absentee, where's the father's address? It wasn't even remotely like, you know, optional that it could be a male filling out these forms. So I ended up having to cross out and write mother, or rather father, on forms where mother existed and no father existed. It's clear that that's, you know, the social concept of childbearing is primarily a woman's role. Now it doesn't serve anybody's purpose, because I mean, that both undermines men and women. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It puts everybody in these structured, you know, roles that aren't always accurate. And I know some sisters who don't necessarily have the, you know, supposed, you know, instinct, you know, and I tell you right now, I knew I had the instinct. I was born, and if I could have breastfed him, I would. You know what I mean? Truly, because that's the only really step I couldn't do. Everything else, I did.
When I didn't have a job and I wasn't in school, I was the one who had my son all the time. I had my son, well, the first summer, he was born in June. That whole summer I was working and providing for my girlfriend and my son. The whole winter, I had him all the time. I was the one going to get his WIC. I was the one going to get his Medicaid cards. I was the one taking him to the doctor. I was the one taking him to get his shots. My grandmother told me all the time how my dad used to do the same thing. How in the cold, the snow, going on the bus, lugging me and my brothers around. The same way his father, my grandfather, took care of him and made sure he had everything he needed and busted his ass so my dad could eat. It's just, well, that's just in my blood. I don't know any different.
I remember being home from school, I think it was around 1960, and there was a blizzard, and all the subways had stopped running, and the city was literally buried, you know, 3-4 feet snow drifts. And my dad made an effort to go to work. And I remember my mother calling me to the window saying, "Look, there's your father. He's going out to go to work so that he can provide for us." And that was a very powerful image.
My father, I met him when I was 19 years old. My uncle told me once, you know, your dad's still alive, you know. My mother had said he had disappeared in Vietnam, I think it was. And not knowing him and wanting to get to know him, but not really knowing how to go about doing that on any consistent basis, has still, you know, left a void. And so how that affected me is when Omari was born, I just really saw it as an absolute that I would be there, you know. It's made me definitely appreciate being a father, you know, in a way. I could give Omari what I didn't have.
With my dad, we was pretty tight. He was there, I think, until like I was about in 10th grade. And him and my mom, they were still together, but he was like staying somewhere else. So, and that's when I got like a little wild because he wasn't there to hold me down. But when he was there, I couldn't get away with nothing. He was, you know, Dad was the boss. And I think later on in life, as I got older, when I was like maybe 22, 23, I used to resent the fact that he wasn't with my mom anymore because I was always like, they were always together. I mean, going on trips, the whole family and everything like that, and it just seemed strange for him not to be with her, to be with somebody else. So it took a while for me. Actually, it took for him till he passed away like 3 years ago to forgive him, you know, because it was like animosity that I was holding against him. Not that I wouldn't speak to him or anything like that. It was just that in the back of my mind, I was like, he did my mom wrong, and that, you know, so, and maybe my kids feel the same way about me. I don't know.
My relationship with my father was pretty interesting. I remember him being a very strong presence in the house. He was primarily the breadwinner. He went to work and he provided for the family. In terms of his involvement with me and my brothers, there was some. I would describe it as quite formal. We had the outings to the zoo, to the circus, to different, you know, family activities. In terms of taking a more personal interest in my life, that was not there because he was too busy working and worrying about making ends meet for the family. I was determined that I was going to be a little bit different, that I was going to be more available, you know, to my children, and attempted to do that.
It's funny, you know what I'm saying, he was talking about that because a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, I felt the same way about him. Like, when I was growing up, I really didn't have anybody to talk to. My older brother's about 8 years older than me, so I really didn't have any male role models. I mean, my dad, yeah, he did hold it down. He worked more than full time. He worked a lot. He took care of us. But it's funny, also, I guess, that the point that it goes down generation. You know, it's kind of like a chain. The same thing he experienced with his dad, I experienced with him. And the same thing that I feel in a way I'm doing that now. It's like, I think it's so important to take care of my son and make sure he has everything. It's funny, I'm laughing because it's like I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to work, you know, all these hours at my job. Plus I'm about to try and get another job just so he can have nice things. So it's like, now when I think about it, it's more important to be there for your kid.
One of the most important things that I learned was, you know, when you feel your kids are pulling away from you, you know, that's when you got to be on them the most. You know, because as much as kids try to go out there and find their own way, as much as they want to be out there, stay with them, they stay with you.
It's okay to love somebody. It's okay to tell them and show them that you love them. Not so much materialistically, but by showing by your actions and your verbiage or what have you, that, you know, you can love someone and not be afraid to, and that the love can transcend into, you know, a happy relationship.
My aunt told me when I was like 20, she said, because she knew me and my kid's mother was having problems, and she told me, she said, you and the kid's mother may not always be together. She said, if y'all break up or whatever, she said, even if you don't have money to give them, She said, give them your time. Go get them, take them places. You know, even if you don't have the money to buy them, take them to the beach, take them to the park. Just spend time with your kids so that they know who you are. She said, because kids will always remember that. And it's true. To this day, my kids, they tell me about times when I took them and I don't even remember. They said, you remember you came and picked us up and took us so-and-so? And I don't even remember, but that's important, even if you can't, because a lot of times you may not have money to buy the things you want. And I don't think money should be a reason for someone not to be able to spend time with their kids. So if you can spend that time, that's the most important thing.
The most valuable lesson I learned, I have to say, I think my dad for this is be a man and be responsible. Being a man is not how much money you got. Being a man is not how many girls you can bag, how much herb you can smoke, how much 40s you could drink, how many niggas you could kick ass, or how many times you've been to jail. It's about taking care of your responsibilities.
Breaking that cycle of not having guidance. And, you know, maybe if your father isn't there, that's not necessarily to say that you don't have guidance. But, I mean, you never learn to be a man till you see a man. So if you don't have a man in your life to really show you, you'll never know. And we got to break that cycle. There's just generations of kids growing up with no fathers. They're missing it all. They're missing it all. And it will come back to haunt them. It will come back to haunt them. They're missing it all. It's not, you know what's the best thing? The best thing is to have him come downstairs and knock on the door and say, good morning, Daddy, and jump up on the bed with me. That's the best thing. Or to hear him crying, you know, upstairs in his room because he's waking up, and I run upstairs and he just jumps in my arms and goes right back to sleep. You know, what are you trading for that? Think about what you trading, you know, when you miss that, when you don't have that. You know, it's just irreplaceable to me. I don't think I could do without it.
It's like a book I read. There was a part in there where it says a man plows his field and then he tends it. And that to me is like you laid the seed, you had this child, you're just gonna leave it out in the sun and leave it to the bugs or leave it to whatever. You have to be there to nurture it, pull the weeds or whatever needs to be done.
There's a lot of fathers out here that do the right thing, but they're not the ones in the limelight. It's always the ones that are doing the wrong things that are brought up, you know, in newspapers or whatever, or what have you, that they're not doing the right thing, but there's a lot of us doing the right thing.
But I think he would say that his daddy was a proud, honest man who really didn't take too much crap from anybody. And he's not gonna take too much of it either.
I would want them to say my dad was the man. He held it down. Whenever we had a problem, he was there, he solved it. He taught me how to deal with things. And he taught me how to overcome adversity and just keep on moving on.
What I would like for my legacy to be is that I was more or less a catalyst in the big picture. Not that I may have, you know, invented the great invention or cured the incurable disease, but that if I could have played a part in spurring someone else on to do that, I'd be very happy with that.
Happiness, joy. That's the most precious gift you can give a child. Joy, because a child who has no joy, no happiness is doomed to repeat the patterns of this world, truly. If you can bring a joyful child and their memories be filled with good memories, I mean, that's priceless.
So my dad is the greatest man on earth. He's the illest, the smartest, the best father, the best man in the world. I want him to think of me as his everything, his idol, his role model, his hero. I just want him to know that I went all out for him. I loved him no matter what. I did everything I could for him, and that I helped him be the best he could be, even when he wasn't even trying.
These are real dads who are sharing their personal experiences, speaking to others, learning from life's lessons, and through their lives, seeking positive changes in the African American community. Remember, the future of our children lies in our hands.
Black men tend to have a tendency not to, want to express any kind of
we
love.
Might show it in other ways.
Nothing's going to change unless our kids come up with a different attitude about keeping the family together, being more supportive of each other.
If you're not consciously thinking about all the parts of the puzzle all the time, they're all not going to just happen.
Even as another role model to look at, that's where all this ties in. That's where all of us being together, everybody doing the same thing. That's where it's cohesive at. And that's what makes it work. That's what makes it work.